Sister Arpana, Sister Lucia, Deans of all the faculties, Namrata Chandrasekhar, Chairperson, Student Union, Leader of the Student Unions, students, friends from the media, and friends from the Congress Party, senior leaders from the Congress Party. Thank you for this welcome here. I'd like to start by saying a little bit about the research I did on this institution. So I started off, I said, look, I have to speak to these young ladies, and they're very energetic, and it's going to be a challenge for me because they're all very intelligent. So I said, let me do some research. So I went to Wikipedia. Like everyone does these days, I looked at the Wikipedia page, and I found, to my surprise, that 3 brilliant women that I know come from this institution. So first of all, I was very impressed by the list of alumni. Top bureaucrats, top businesswomen, huge list of actresses. So I picked up the phone and I called up Margaret Alvaji, who worked with us, who works with Digvijay Singh ji. I called up Mrs. Rao, Ambassador to the United States, who I'd also had a little bit to do with. And I called up Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, who, as you all know, is head of Biocon. And they were a little bit surprised because I picked up the phone, and normally, we politicians call them up and talk about politics, and I said, I've got a question for you. So they were like, yes. I said, I want to talk to you about your institution. And I want to understand what it was like being a part of this institution. So I'll tell you a little bit about what each one of them said. Mrs. Rao became one of the top diplomats in the country. She was involved at the highest level between the United States and India. And she said to me a brilliant thing. She said, one of my teachers at Mount Carmel had gone to the United States. And in those days, nobody used to go to the United States. And this teacher had gone to the United States, and she brought back ideas from the United States, and she was talking about them in Mount Carmel. And actually, one of the reasons I ended up as ambassador to the United States was that teacher who taught me in Mount Carmel, who gave me a new perspective, who showed me something completely new, a new way of looking at the world, a new way of thinking. So I said, ma'am, what did this institution give you? I mean, what is it if I talk to the young ladies from that institution, what can I expect that all of them will have? And she said, well, the most important thing Mount Carmel gave me was persistence and focus, and the belief that I could do anything that I imagined, and I was no less than anybody else. So I said, thank you. She said, I'm going to send you a paper that I've written. I said, okay, and I put the phone down. Then I called up Margaret Alva and I said, Alvaji, what is your view? You went to this institution, so Margaret Alvaji gave me a slightly different slant. She said the same thing. She said, the feeling I had once I left Mount Carmel was that Mount Carmel has protected me, has nurtured me, has given me knowledge, and now I have the tools to go out into the rest of the world and do whatever I want, and I'm confident that I can do it. She also told me that the teachers here were very strict. And in those days, I don't know if it still happens, but she said in those days, some of the girls used to jump over the wall and go out. I'm sure that doesn't happen anymore. And then I picked up the phone, I called Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, who I've also dealt with in the past. I asked her the same question. And she replied the same thing in a slightly different way. She said, I could have never achieved what I achieved. I could have never become head of this institution called Biocon. I could never even imagined it if this institution hadn't nurtured me and given me the self-belief that that could be done. She also said that she came and spoke to you some time back, and she told you that times have changed and that during her day not many women could do what she did. But today many avenues have opened up for women, and she inspired you to follow your dream and try and get ahead in business, get ahead in politics, get ahead in the bureaucracy. After I spoke to these three ladies, I put down the phone and then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, is there something common in all these three ladies? They've all been to this institution. And what is it in these three conversations? What was the common thread? Did I see something that was similar, that was least common multiple, as they say in maths? I'm not very good at maths, but I know that term. And I realized that essentially what this institution does, it gives you knowledge, but it also teaches you tolerance. It doesn't impose a single idea on top of you. I walked in right now, and two young ladies over there from Tibet, they shook my hand. I asked them, where are you from? I'm from Tibet. Then there was a Christian prayer said here. And then there was a classical dance performance. Nobody said that we don't like that, or we don't like this, or this is any less than that. Everybody looked at it and appreciated the good parts of all these things. I'm sure the young Tibetan ladies here feel very much at home in an institution like this. Because this institution is about conversation. It is about coming here, even for me. I'm not coming here to tell you what I think. The young ladies inside, student union leader said, you know, what is the idea for you coming here? I'm not coming here to tell you what I think. I'm actually coming here to listen to what you have to say, more than what I think. Both are important. But for me, it's much more important that I understand what the young people of this country are feeling, what they're thinking, what is concerning them. Now, I spent 10 years in politics, and one learns slowly in life. When I first came into politics, what I was convinced in my mind that the solutions to India's problems were simple. I was convinced that most other people didn't understand things, and that I understood them. This was 15 years ago, that I understood them, and the only thing that had to be done was to implement what was correct. And slowly, 10, 15 years later, I've come to the conclusion that if you want to achieve anything in life, forget politics, anything in life, you have to listen to people around you. You have to appreciate people around you. You have to work with people around you. So the first thing I want to tell you is that no matter how smart you are, how intelligent you are, you live in a society, and you're only going to be successful if you listen to those people around you, work with the people around you, appreciate the people around you, and carry the people around you. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of the work that I've done with women. And this, for me, has been the biggest learning experience in my life. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about it. Some years back, about 10 years back, we started a self-help group system movement in my constituency. Do you know what a self-help group is? For the young ladies who have not heard about this, it's basically the idea of connecting women to banks and finance. Allowing women to use finance to become entrepreneurs, to do small businesses, and to pull themselves out of poverty. And so we started this. I went to Andhra Pradesh, I saw it there, and I was very impressed by it. So we started it in Amethi. When we first started, you know how UP is. Everybody in UP told us that this can work in Andhra, it can't work in Uttar Pradesh. But we started small. We started with 50 women. And today, it's the biggest SHG NGO, non-government NGO in the country. There are 1.5 million women who form part of this NGO. And like I'm talking to you, I spend a lot of time talking to them. I learn from them. And these are, in a way, they're unique women because almost all of them used to be poor. A lot of you come from successful backgrounds. A lot of you come from backgrounds where your parents are successful, they've achieved a lot. Most of these women came from backgrounds where they had no money. They were below the poverty line. And I want to tell you about one of the conversations I had with a group of these women, which stuck in my mind and I will not forget till I die. This young lady, there was about 15 of us talking, and this young lady from the group, she said, it's sort of in these groups, they'll talk about their personal experiences. They'll talk about what's going on at home. They'll talk about how they're being treated, how they're feeling. So the lady stood up and said, I want to say something. So the others were listening. I was listening. And she said, I used to be poor. And I had forgotten as a poor person that I existed. I had become so small that I had forgotten that I existed. If somebody used to come to my house and say, is anyone home? Instead of answering my name, I would keep quiet. And she said, slowly this SHG movement empowered me and it brought me, it showed me that actually I could do a lot in my life. And I slowly started to come out of poverty. And she says, one day, while this process was going on, my husband used to drink alcohol. And he would come home from work. He was a laborer. He would come home from work and he was frustrated. And then he would beat me. And this used to happen every single day. One day he got really angry, and I had a 1.5-year-old child. And he picked up the 1.5-year-old child and he tossed the 1.5-year-old child on the ground like that. And I just couldn't believe it, that my husband had picked up my own child and smashed it on the ground. And then when I picked up the child, it was screaming, and I realized that the child's arm was broken. So as a mother, I just looked at the father and I said to him that, you can beat me, but what are you doing? What are you doing to this son? And I took him to the hospital and he got a plaster and he was howling, but we got the plaster and he was okay after a couple months. And then I asked her a question. Then she said, now, in Hindi she said, ab to ye kabhi nahi ho sakta. Mera pati ab mere, do you understand Hindi? Mera pati ab mere upar haath kabhi nahi utha sakta. So I was very happy about this. I was like, that's a huge achievement. आपका पति शराब पीता है, नहीं शराब नहीं पीता. आपको मारता है, नहीं मारता है. So then I said to her, tell me something. When your husband broke your child's arm, violence was carried out in that room. Somebody carried out violence. Can you identify for me who all carried out the violence? I just asked that question. And she looked at me and she said, my husband carried out the violence. And then she said, but it was not only my husband. So I said, well, who else? She said, it was my parents. My parents who knew that my husband was beating me, but didn't give me the power to stop it. So I said, who else? She said, it was all the people who lived next to me. They all knew that. They didn't help me. And I said, who else? And then she said, went quiet. And then she said, the most brilliant thing that I have heard. She said, Rahul, I was also involved in that. It was not only society. It was not only my husband. But it was me. And I looked at her and I said, how can you say something like that? How can you tell me that the fact that your husband has broken your son's arm is your fault? And she said to me, because I had the power to stop him and I didn't. And today I realize that nobody can do anything to me because I am strong enough to stop anybody from doing anything to me. And this for me was a very powerful lesson. I believe that, and this is probably because I've got my grandmother who I learned a lot from, I have my mother who I learned a lot from, my sister who I love very much and I learn a lot from. Maybe my father died when I was young, so I've been close to women. For me, the single biggest problem in this country is that women do not have the place that they deserve. Women are mistreated. Women are made to feel uncomfortable. Women are categorized. So here, even looking at you, society decides that someone is pretty. Society decides that someone is thin. Society decides that someone is smart. And these are all just things society invents. For me, all of you are beautiful. Every single one of you has a place in this country. And every single one of you has to be respected and given that place. And that is what I sit here fighting for. It disturbs me, for example, when a young lady goes to a pub in Bengaluru and is thrashed by someone because she went to a pub. Whether she goes to a pub or she doesn't go to a pub, that is her decision, that is her problem. I give her that much intelligence that she knows what is good for her. But carrying out physical violence on a woman because you don't appreciate what she does, in this country that is not acceptable, and that is something that I will contest and I will fight for. So, what is the difference between the RSS, the BJP, and us? There are numerous differences, but there is one central difference. From our perspective, we want to give space to every single person in this room. Even if we do not agree with the idea of that person, we want to give them the space to talk. And we want to be able to listen to them and say, okay, we don't agree with you. But as an Indian, as a member of this college, you have equal right to put your view across. We don't come to you saying, we have all the answers. In fact, you'll ask me many questions. And I will give you a perspective, I will give you a view. I will not be able to give you the answer. Because there are many, many different views on anything. Just now we were with the young ladies inside and they said to me, we should centralize the education system. And I said, well, actually there are issues with centralizing the education system. And we had a conversation. The conversation is what is important. Out of the conversation comes a refined perspective, a refined view. So that is what is disturbing me about the country today. That we can have FTII students being shut up and not listened to. They can go on strike for as long as they want. A member of the government does not have the decency just to go there and say, okay, why are you complaining? After that you can say, we don't agree with you. And you're wrong. But at least go there and have a conversation. Start the conversation. And it is the same whether you talk about 2 Dalit children who were killed in Haryana and are called dogs by a central minister, or you have somebody who is killed because there is a rumor that he has eaten beef. These are all the same thing. The idea is that there are certain people in the country who have all the answers, and everybody else should not be part of the conversation. That is what I am against. To me, this country's biggest strength is what Digvijayji told me in the car today. Live and let live. We have thousands of communities, billions of people, men, women, different castes, different religions, different languages. And for 70 years, by and large, we have lived peacefully. And the only way to continue living peacefully is if all of us have a dialogue, all of us keep the conversation going, and none of us are under the mistaken illusion or the mistaken belief that we have all the answers for India. People come to me and say, what is your vision for India? My vision for India is what the people of India want. My vision for India is to go to the people of India, to go to the students of Mount Carmel, ask them, what do you want? Tell me what you want, let's discuss what all of you want, let's put it together, and that's the vision of India. Who is Rahul Gandhi to have a vision of India? Who is one person to come to 1.3 billion people and say, listen, I have a vision for you? No. Every one of you is absolutely capable. There are institutions like this one. You're probably going to lead this country. You're going to lead the biggest businesses. You're going to run the bureaucracy. You have a voice. You have an understanding. My job is to bring that understanding to the table. My job is to come to you, to listen to you, to talk to you and tell you, okay, I don't agree with that. That doesn't make sense. But this, what you're saying, makes sense. And for you to tell me, Mr. Gandhi, we don't agree with you. You're wrong over here. And for me to go back and say, actually, that's interesting. I was wrong. And I need to correct that. So that is the type of politics that I'm for. In one of the questions I'm often asked about democratization of the political system, Digvijayji will tell you, Parmeshwarji will tell you, that if you look at our political system today, very few people have decision-making power in it. In the central government today, and I say this with certainty, there is only one man who decides every single decision. It can't possibly be that one man has all the answers to this country. It can't be. So I'm for a dialogue, I'm for a discussion, I'm from opening up these ideas, these systems to people. I want all of you to be in the Vidhan Sabha. I want you to be in the Lok Sabha. I want you to be the ones taking the decision, because you're the people who have the information. So that's most of all what I wanted to tell you. We have some questions that you want to ask me. I think there are a number of questions some of you had on my views on education, my view on the education system. So please feel free to ask me whatever you'd like, and I'd happily answer them.
We'll have two of our students, Niang and Kartika, along here with Mr. Gandhi as we take questions from the students.
Sure. Hello, how are you? Don't call me sir, please. Come. Yeah. I'm okay, whatever you want. We can both share the mic here. Where are you from?
I'm from Arunachal Pradesh.
Okay, how nice. And you?
I'm from Kerala.
Okay. So how do we do this? You want me to sit there and you're going to do that, or should we all three stand here?
It's your stage, sir.
I prefer to stand.
Okay, fine, you're fine with that. A very good afternoon, Carmelites. I'm Niang Pertin. I'm in third year, BA.
Hello, I'm Kartika. I'm from second year BA again.
So, as Mr. Rahul Gandhi has said, that many of us have questions for him, and he is now here ready to answer all these questions. So the floor is now open to questions. May we have the first person to ask the question, please. Anyone in the audience?
Would you like to ask a question?
I do have one.
Go ahead.
As you said about, opening up dialogues and all, I wanted to say something with regard to the Northeast. Idom Sharmila has been fasting for so many years, and not just the BJP, even the Congress hasn't opened up a dialogue with them. So what do you have to say about that?
I think my view is that talking to someone never hurts. So my view is that a conversation should be begun with her. Well, we'll do it.
Okay. So can we have the first question, please?
Good afternoon, Mr. Gandhi.
We have one here.
We've got a question. We'll come back to you when I'm done with the answer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gandhi. I'm Tanya Chabria, a third-year communication studies student. My question for you is, what's wrong with a suit boot ki sarkar that focuses on corporate and reforms with regard to them, as long as the government is able to provide entitlements and a security net, provided that the economy grows and tax revenue increases?
The idea of the suit boot sarkar, which I raised in the parliament, essentially, if you look at the way the government is operating, the Prime Minister had mentioned that he would produce 2 crore jobs a year, right? It's perfectly okay if you're focusing on large businesses and you're producing jobs that benefit people, right? In fact, India will only succeed if 2 things happen. Number 1, that you grow the economy, and number 2, that you take the benefits of that growth and you put them into poor people. Because really the strength of this country are poor people. Our biggest strength, people say, democratic dividend. Most of that democratic dividend is poor. Largest number of young Indians are not rich. So you have to take the economic growth and you have to transfer the economic growth to those poor people. The problem with the government is that they are slashing expenditure on making that, on the money that they should be sending to poor people. They're slashing education expenditure, they're slashing healthcare expenditure, and by the way, there are no jobs. So I don't see where the jobs have been produced. All the government is doing right now is giving contracts to large business people. And that also very limited large business people. 5 or 6 or 7 business people who are close to the dispensation. And you know the names, I don't have to say the names. It's actually much worse than a suit boot sarkar. It is 5 or 6 suit boots ki sarkar. The Congress party in the last 10 years produced the fastest growth rate this country has ever seen. The reason we produced the fastest growth rate was because we were sending money to the poor. We were making poor people feel that they were part of this equation. If you in India do not make poor people feel that they are part of the equation, the poor people will stop the economic growth instantly. So these 2 things are connected, and you can't just disconnect them. The central idea of the Prime Minister, which I contest and I don't agree with, is that he believes that India can be run through the PMO. He believes that that Narendra Modi ji himself can transform India. I don't believe that. I have seen India for too long to believe that one man is capable of transforming a country of 1.3 billion people. My belief is that the only way to transform this country is to empower people in this country like yourselves. So that's the difference between the suit boot concept and the distributive, involve everybody concept of the Congress party. And by the way, By the way, it's pretty apparent. Suit boot is failing. It's completely failing because there are no jobs being created, the economy is in the doldrums, and you don't have health and education expenditure. So the country basically is not moving. I mean, I had some investors come from abroad. 15 of the biggest investors in the world came to see me 3 or 4 days back. And I asked them this question. I said, you know, you supported Narendra Modi ji. Are you happy with what's going on? You know, I say Suit Boot ki sarkar. Suit Boot means that, you know, they should be helping you. You should be feeling happy. Are you happy? They looked at me and smiled and said, no, nothing's happening. We're shocked. It's not working. And my answer to them was, it won't work. The only way it will work is if you involve the poor people. If you bring the poor people into this conversation. So that's the difference.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think they want a question upstairs as well.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Aruna Krishnan from third year, final year, studying political science, economics and journalism. Welcome to Bangalore and to Mount Carmel College in particular. My question to you primarily focuses on the GST bill. We all are aware that the GST bill was initiated by the Congress. But I want to ask you, why is it being stalled now, given the fact that it is a very important economic reform to India?
The Congress party actually brought the GST bill, as you said. And we are for the GST bill. We've been supporting the GST bill. What's interesting is for the last 3 years, the BJP was opposing the GST bill. And in fact, Mr. Arun Jaitley, who today wants to pass the GST bill, gave an interview and said, blocking parliament is a BJP strategy and we are not going to let the GST bill pass. So it's very nice of them to say about us that we are blocking the bill when they blocked it for three years. Anyway, that's the past. Our view is that there are a couple of things in the bill that we want changed. One, the most important one, the central one, is that we want a cap on the amount of tax that can be charged. So we want to limit the amount of tax that can be charged to protect you. Because we don't want a situation where there is no limit on the amount of tax that can be charged to you. Right? There are 2 other issues. There's a dispute resolution issue and there's a 1% issue. But by and large, these are the 3 differences between us and the BJP. Now, the BJP's approach on the land bill with us was to shut us out of parliament. When our leader of opposition, Mr. Kharge, used to speak, they used to switch off the mic like this, click. And he used to stand there in parliament and have no mic. Right? So that is not the correct way for the government to behave. If the government wants to pass the GST, the government has to accept the fact that the Congress party sits in parliament, that the Congress party has 20% of the national vote, that the Congress party has a view. We are trying to protect you. We are trying to make sure that there is a cap on taxation for you. We are trying to protect you from the suit boot, basically, if you want to hear it directly. So we will fight for your rights. Do we want a GST? Are we ready to compromise on a GST? Are we ready to talk on a GST? Absolutely. Are we going to accept just being thrown aside? No. So ours is not, we are not trying to stall parliament just for the sake of stalling parliament. We want a GST that suits the country, that is beneficial for the country. And we are ready to have that conversation without a problem.
I think the next question will be there. A very good afternoon, sir. My name is Deeksha Rao. I'm currently doing my bachelor's in science. I think this is slightly in reference to what you just spoke. I think it's safe to say we all agree that for a healthy democracy, a constructive opposition is prominent. So my question to you, Mr. Gandhi, for the past 1.5 years, we have, as we see, the opposition has not only stalled the parliament, but has somehow derailed the legislative process. So, like, is the main role of an opposition to merely oppose?
No. No, the main role of an opposition is to have a conversation. The main role of the opposition is to have a conversation in Parliament. Our problem is that the BJP does not have a conversation. As I mentioned to you before, I've been in Parliament a number of times where when our speakers are speaking, their mics are switched off. Straight, just switched off, and they just stand there silent. Right? So, democracy is about conversation. And it's very important that that conversation is allowed. On the land bill, we have very strong views. I fought for the land bill. The land is the single biggest source of corruption in this country. We got a land bill and the BJP wanted to kill the land bill. We defended it. We were even ready to have a conversation on the land bill. They were not. We are ready to have a conversation on the GST. It hasn't struck them till today to have a conversation with us. So, democracy is about talking. Democracy is not about just listening to what the government says and says, okay, thank you, now, do whatever you want. We have a strength in the Lok Sabha. We have a strength in the Rajya Sabha. And we have views on policy. We are not just, these are just not fantastical conversations that we're having. We very strongly believe in a GST. But we believe in a GST which has a cap. We don't want an unlimited amount of tax to be charged on the people of India. So, of course, we will have a conversation. But it takes two people to talk. It's no point us having a conversation and the government throwing us out of the house. It is the first time. It's the first time that the entire Congress party has been chucked out of the house. All our senior leaders are told to get out of the house. This is not the way to run a democracy. I mean, it's like if I was to come in here and I was to say, I don't like these people, so please leave the room. That's just not the way it works. But saying that, we want to be constructive. We think GST is very important. We think there are other bills that are important, and we're more than happy to help that conversation along. But the approach has to be of reaching out. Our Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh ji, whenever there was something to be discussed, picked up the phone, called the leaders of the opposition. The Prime Minister has not done it once. Not once. He's never called anybody in the Congress party. So democracy is about discussion.
Thank you, sir.
May we have the next question, please?
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Amina Jagirdar and I'm in my final year BA. As you said that the nation needs to be run by people like us, but in the recent times we've seen that many of the youth is diverting to parties like BJP and AAP. So what are the initiatives taken by Indian Congress to attract the youth to their party?
Well, see, we were in power for 10 years. And the fact of the matter is that in 10 years, there was a certain amount of fatigue with the Congress party. The Congress party did certain things that maybe were not the correct things. And we lost the election. We lost the election a year ago. So for us, we have to reconstruct ourselves. We have to give a new face and image to the Congress party. We have to get youngsters and new people into the Congress party. And we have to create a program for the Congress party for the next 10 years. Essentially, if you look at the way the Congress party works, every 10 years, the Congress party gives a direction to the Indian people. If you look at the 60s, we came at the Indian people with the idea of the Green Revolution and the White Revolution. If you look at 70s, we came with the idea of bank nationalization, giving finance to poor people. If you look at the 80s, we came with the idea of the computer, with the idea of the telephone, which all of you have in your pockets today. If you look at the 90s, we came with the idea of liberalization. If you look at 2004 to 2014, we came with the idea of fast economic growth and a rights-based paradigm. So we have to generate that new idea. We have to have a conversation with you. We have to come here. We have to ask you what you think. We have to take your ideas and we have to come up with the next 10 years for India. What is India going to do in the next 10 years after 2019? Because frankly, even though the BJP has come to power, I don't see a strategy. I don't see a clear direction. I see a lot of talk. I hear talk about clean your country. I mean, are we serious? Clean your country is a strategic national government program. Well, it's not working, is it? I don't see it working. You see it working? Okay. I don't see Swachh Bharat working very well. Huh? What?
Well, I think they're agreeing that it's working.
You think it's working?
Okay, the house is divided.
Yes, it's working. Okay. No. Okay, let's ask another question. Do you think Make in India is working? Do you think so? No. You think youngsters in India are getting jobs? So Swachh Bharat isn't working, Make in India isn't working, Connect India isn't working. So I don't clearly see, I don't clearly see a vision that the BJP is projecting. You know? So for me, for the Congress party, we have to come up with a potential vision that we can give to the people of India.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there a question there?
Sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gandhi. My name is Shafa Kausar and I'm a final year student, BA student. Humongous corruption allegations were seen as the main reason for the disastrous Congress performance in the 2014 elections. But your recent tie-up with the RJD showed your willingness to compromise to defeat BJP instead of trying to restore the country's faith in your system. Sir, what is your stand on corruption?
Well, in Bihar, it's generally accepted that Nitish Kumar is an honest leader. Is that fair to say or no? Yeah. So, in Bihar it is generally accepted that Nitish Kumar is a relatively honest leader, is a clean leader, and we support Nitish Kumar. Lalu Yadav ji is actually not in the government, and Lalu Yadav ji's sons who are in the government have made a statement yesterday or day before saying that zero tolerance for corruption. My own personal view is that corruption is absolutely the single most important thing that we have to get rid of. If you look at the Congress party and you look at what we did with regards to corruption, if you look at the Right to Information Bill, which is the single biggest tool against corruption, right? And the amount of transparency that the RTI gave and the amount of people who got caught while being corrupt, that was the Congress party that did it. Today, our Prime Minister has basically killed RTI. The reason you will see soon exactly the type of corruption that is going on in the central government. We have already shown clearly in the Rajasthan government, the chief minister and her son have been given 12 crores by Mr. Lalit Modi. Directly, like that. Right? 40 people have been murdered in Madhya Pradesh on the Vyapam scam. Right? In Maharashtra there's a scam. There's a massive scam in Chhattisgarh on food. So, the fact that the BJP is corrupt, it's absolutely 100% correct. Right? It's only a question of time, and by the way, we will show you that information. It's only a question of time where we'll show you exactly what the central government is doing. So, absolutely corruption has to be removed, but the BJP is not doing much to remove it. And as far as our alliance in Bihar is with Mr. Nitish Kumar, who has a decent record on corruption.
Thank you.
Also just to say, Lalu Yadav ji is part of our alliance. So part of your question is fair. Our thinking on Bihar was that it's very important that the BJP needs to be stopped in Bihar. So the three of us got together and ensured that the BJP would be stopped. Now Nitish Kumar ji is the chief minister. And the Congress party is a member of that alliance, and the RJD is a member of that alliance. It is the chief minister's responsibility and our responsibility to make sure that that is a clean government. And we are going to try and ensure that that is the case.
May we have the next question, please? There's a question, please.
No questions on top.
सर नमस्ते सर।
नमस्कार।
मेरा नाम मधुचंदा चक्रवर्ती है। मैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट के सिलचर असम से हूँ।
हाँ जी।
और मेरा एक सवाल है, कई सालों से है, मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ, पिछले 10 साल जब आप सरकार में थे और इसके अलावा असम में तरुण गोगोई की सरकार, जो आपके सबसे करीबी और आपके सपोर्टिव सरकार है, तो वहाँ सिलचर, बदरपुर, हैलाकांदी, करीमगंज, मैं इन इलाकों में मैं रहती हूँ, मेरे रिलेटिव्स रहते हैं वहाँ पे, और भी कई सारे लोग रहते हैं। लेकिन वहाँ सबसे बड़ी समस्या ये है कि वहाँ सड़कें अच्छी नहीं है, पानी, बिजली, शिक्षा, हर प्रकार की समस्या है। लेकिन अभी तक वहाँ इन सारी समस्याओं को इतनी उपेक्षा झेलनी पड़ रही है। कब तक ये होता रहेगा सर? कब तक नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जो इनर लाइन परमिट की समस्या जो अभी शुरू हुई है, काफी सालों से चल रही है, तो कब तक ये सारी समस्या आपकी तरफ से, मीडिया की तरफ से, हमेशा मैं देखती हूँ कोई न्यूज ही नहीं आती है इस पर,
नॉर्थ ईस्ट पे? हाँ,
नॉर्थ ईस्ट पे, और बहुत ज्यादा उपेक्षित महसूस करती हूँ मैं, क्योंकि मैं पूरे नॉर्थ ईस्ट में मैंने अपना जीवन बिताया है, पढ़ाई की है, वहाँ पर मैं पली बड़ी हूँ।
आप वहीं की हैं या आप?
मैं वहीं की हूँ।
असम की हैं आप? जी।
तो मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ सर कि कब तक ये उपेक्षा हमें सहनी पड़ेगी?
हिंदी में जवाब चाहती हैं आप और इंग्लिश?
हिंदी।
इंग्लिश। सो हिंदी?
हिंदी सर।
So what you prefer, English or Hindi? I can't make out.
हिंदी सर।
नॉर्थ ईस्ट काफी कॉम्प्लेक्स रीजन है, आपको भी ये मालूम होगा। असम, मणिपुर, मिजोरम, ये सब स्टेट्स बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स स्टेट्स हैं। हमारी कोशिश थी जब हमारी सरकार थी दिल्ली में कि हम इन स्टेट्स को जबरदस्त तरीके से सपोर्ट करें, और वहां स्पेशल स्टेटस की बात थी। अब बीजेपी ने वो स्पेशल स्टेटस हटा दिया, आप इसको जानते हैं, और जिस प्रकार से वो सपोर्ट वहां मिलनी चाहिए, फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट और दूसरे तरीके की सपोर्ट, वो शायद सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट आजकल नहीं दे रही है। जरूर सड़कों पे डेवलपमेंट में कमी आती है, वो आप जानती हैं। कोशिश रहती है पूरी अटेम्प्ट होता है कि सड़क बनाई जाए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाई जाए, मगर वहां पे लोकल लेवल पे काफी करप्शन होता है, लोकल लेवल पे काफी इश्यूज बनती हैं। हमारी कोशिश है कि हम नॉर्थ ईस्ट को स्पेशल स्टेटस दें, एक स्पेशल तरीके से नॉर्थ ईस्ट को देखें, क्योंकि वहां पे काफी कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज हैं जो बाकी हिंदुस्तान में नहीं है। मैं काफी हैरान रहा कुछ समय पहले जब प्रधानमंत्री जी ने नागालैंड अकॉर्ड का अनाउंसमेंट किया। आपने सुना होगा। नागालैंड बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रॉब्लम है। अकॉर्ड करने के लिए वहां पे मणिपुर से, अरुणाचल से और असम से जमीन देनी पड़ेगी नागालैंड को। और अचानक प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट को फोन किया एक दिन और कहा कि नागा अकॉर्ड साइन हो गया है। और हम काफी घबराए, क्योंकि अगर नागा अकॉर्ड साइन हो गया तो मणिपुर की जमीन का मुद्दा उठता है, असम की जमीन का मुद्दा उठता है और अरुणाचल की जमीन का मुद्दा उठता है। तो हमने अपने चीफ मिनिस्टर से फोन किया, उनसे पूछा भाई क्या हुआ, नागालैंड का अकॉर्ड साइन हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है, आपको मालूम है? और हमारे तीनों चीफ मिनिस्टर्स ने हमें कहा कि भाई हमें तो नागालैंड अकॉर्ड के बारे में कुछ नहीं मालूम। फिर हमने उनसे कहा कि आप चीफ मिनिस्टर नागालैंड को फोन करिए, उनसे पूछिए कि ये अकॉर्ड हुआ है, इसके बारे में आप थोड़ा बताइए। जब उन्होंने नागालैंड चीफ मिनिस्टर को फोन किया तो नागालैंड चीफ मिनिस्टर कहता है कि हमें भी नहीं मालूम अकॉर्ड के बारे में। तो हम हैरान हो गए, घबरा गए कि भाई ये क्या हो रहा है। प्रधानमंत्री कह रहे हैं कि अकॉर्ड साइन हो गया और नागालैंड और बाकी 3 प्रदेशों के चीफ मिनिस्टर्स को मालूम ही नहीं। फिर हमने होम मिनिस्ट्री को फोन किया, हमारे लोगों ने, होम मिनिस्टर कहते हमें भी नहीं मालूम। अंत में पता लगा कि कोई अकॉर्ड साइन नहीं हुआ। प्रधानमंत्री ने कह दिया कि अकॉर्ड साइन हो गया है। मेरा मतलब है कि वो नॉर्थ ईस्ट को बहुत सिंपल प्रिज्म से देखते हैं। वो सोचते हैं कि ये जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं बहुत आसान प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, इनको 2 मिनट में ठीक किया जा सकता है। मगर अगर नॉर्थ ईस्ट को आप सचमुच में इकोनॉमिकली डेवलप करना चाहते हैं तो आपको वहां पे कनेक्टिविटी देनी पड़ेगी। और आपको नॉर्थ ईस्ट, जो हमने लुक ईस्ट की बात की थी, नॉर्थ ईस्ट को आपको बाकी एशियन देशों से जोड़ना पड़ेगा, कलकत्ता से जोड़ना पड़ेगा और मेनलैंड से जोड़ना पड़ेगा, सड़कों के साथ, रेलवे लाइंस के साथ, एयर कनेक्टिविटी के साथ। और ये सपोर्ट नेशनल गवर्नमेंट को देना चाहिए। तो ये बेसिक आइडिया है।
Thank you. The next question, please.
Hello, my name is Sathaka and I'm in my final year of BSc. As you mentioned, you have taken keen initiative in democratizing the Congress party by holding elections to a number of posts. What kind of success has this had? And what do you think would be the impact of this for the Congress in the long term?
The elections in the Youth Congress have been very successful at one level. At the lower levels of the Congress party and at the middle levels of the Congress party, we've got huge number of youngsters, new youngsters who had nothing to do with politics, who are in politics, who are now climbing up the Congress party organization, and they're moving up. There is also an issue with the Youth Congress elections, which is that at the senior levels, at the state president levels, a lot of money gets involved in the elections, and generally 1 or 2 of the senior leaders try to capture that position. So it's been very successful to bring in people at the lower levels and at the middle levels, and we've got a large number of youngsters, MLAs, even members of parliament, leaders at the state level who have come through those elections. But at the highest level, at the Youth Congress chief level of the state, there are issues with regards to senior leaders making sure that people they like come into those elections. So it's been a success, but then there have been some issues. My view on democratization of the political system is basically to try and bring as many of you people into the political system. I feel that in a sense the whole political system is quite a closed system, and young ladies like yourself feel that it's a difficult thing to do to get into politics. You feel uncomfortable. You feel that, it's a sort of rowdy type of place. They're aggressive people and we feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So I would like to create a path for youngsters like yourselves to come into the Congress party where, especially if you're ladies, that you are protected and that you feel comfortable in the political discussion. That is my intention. Youth Congress elections are just one element of that. There are many other tools that we use, like opening up conversation on issues, having discussions internally. So that's my thinking.
Due to time constraints, we'll be restricting it to just last 2 questions. Okay, we've got one there.
Good afternoon, sir.
Where are we? Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Sonika from MA Economics. My question to you is, what are your comments on the environmental issues of intolerance and bullying of our country? And even Amir Khan spoke about this recently.
Yeah, I said yesterday in a tweet that, look, if somebody has an issue, if somebody is concerned, it's always better to talk to them and try and understand what they're saying. Just blanket attacking them doesn't give you a solution. I think the most important thing is to listen to people. See, shouting at people is very, very easy. If you don't like something someone says, you can shout at them, abuse them, beat them and shut them up. That's easy to do. It's not very difficult. But it's much more powerful to listen to someone. It's much more powerful to engage with that someone and say, listen, what is it that's concerning you? Come, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if we can work something out. Same way, hating someone is very easy. It's the easiest thing to do. I hate that person, I hate that person, I hate that person, I don't like that person. Loving someone is a much more powerful thing to do. So I feel the more conversation, the better. The less nastiness, the better. The less hatred, the better. The more love and affection, the better. It's just a different philosophy. I don't like what is going on with regards to the intolerance. It disturbs me as an Indian. I don't like when a young Indian speaks, he's shut up, he's pushed, he's bullied. So it disturbs me, and I'm sure it disturbs all of you. When you feel uncomfortable walking on the street, your principal told me today that women feel uncomfortable walking on the street. What is that? It's the same thing. It's imposing your will on somebody. It's saying that you're a woman, so I don't care, I'm stronger than you, so I'll do exactly what I feel. I'll shout at you, I'll scream at you, I'll scare you, I'll frighten you. So what is done to you when you walk out on the bus, or you are threatened or you're pushed, that's exactly what's being done to all these people. It's just bullying. It's somebody who feels that they can just push someone down and bully him. It's very unpleasant, and it's not going to do good for the country. It's not going to help us go along.
So I think that'll be the last question,
Okay.
I'm afraid.
We've already got someone here.
Hello sir, I'm Harshita, pursuing my final year BCom and differently abled. So I think compared to the abroad countries in India, courses are not that open to differently abled people. So example for me, I want to be a filmmaker. If I go tell an institute I want to be a filmmaker, they're going to just make fun of me. But they're not that open about things, how much ever we want to pursue things.
I had a few months back a senior judge from South Africa come to see me, and he was blind. So he sat down in my room, and I was having a conversation with him, and then he says to me, I like the color of your sofa. So I was a bit shocked. I was like, how can he see the color of my sofa? And then he says, oh, I also like the texture of your sofa. And then I asked him, but sir, you can't see. How come you're telling me that you like the way my sofa looks? And then he went on to describe my whole room. He went on to tell me exactly what he could see. And he explained to me that actually he can't see with his eyes, but he can hear with his ears. And he can hear things that I can't imagine even. So he could tell, for example, when I moved, just by listening, which is something I can't do. So even though you might have weaknesses in one area, those weaknesses in that area will develop strengths in another area. I'm sure, for example, you can hear better than most of us. Am I right? Yeah. So, she is much better at listening than all of us put together because she relies on that. So, she is not actually disadvantaged. She's got huge advantages that we don't have. But society doesn't treat her properly. So, we go to, I don't know, is there a ramp to come into this? Right? So you're lucky, you're a well-known institution, you're a financially well-endowed institution, you have ramps. Most education institutions, most schools don't have ramps. For a handicapped person, everything is a barrier. There are barriers for women. Multiply those barriers 1,000 times, and that's what a differently abled person sees. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I think we need to involve everyone, we need to embrace everyone. So I am for a policy and a law that gives benefits to differently abled people, that uses your skills and your strengths, and doesn't isolate you and make you feel that you're not a very important part of this country. I think you are. I think you're as important as anybody else in this room, if not more.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like to thank all the students and their wonderful questions, and Mr. Gandhi as well, for having such a wonderful dialogue with the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All the best. Namaskar.